last week, the Queensland Government handed down its budget. It's the Strong Choices campaign, and for those of you that are Queenslanders, you would have seen it around in the media over the past few months, where the government was engaging with us to ask us how they should tackle reducing the state's debt. For those of you that don't know, Queensland has the highest debt in Australia of all the states at a whopping $80 billion. That's an annual interest bill of $4 billion every year. So there's pretty much three ways to reduce the state's debt. They can increase our taxes, they can reduce the services that they provide to the state, or they can sell some assets. So the feedback from Queenslanders back to the government and their proposed choice of action is to do a sale of assets or long-term lease of government assets. So they're trying to generate proceeds of $33.6 billion from this process. And they've said that they're going to use 75% of those proceeds to reduce the state's debt. So that'll bring the debt down to $55 billion and the annual interest bill from $4 billion down to $2.7 billion. A few other important issues affecting Queensland that came out in the budget. Our unemployment, unfortunately, is higher than the national average, running currently at 6.3%. But let's talk a bit about mining, because in Queensland, that's our largest sector. Now, there's pretty much three stages to the mining process. First of all, prices increased, so commodity prices for coal increased, and those prices spiked back in 2011. So since then, we've been in the second phase, which is the investment phase. So that's where the mining companies go out, they spend heaps of money on infrastructure, put lots of workforce on, and they're building new mines. And we've been in that for a little while now. And that's seen workforce move from East Coast to West Coast, and they've been employing a lot of people. Now, what's happening right now, and especially into 2015, is that we're now moving into the third phase, which is the production phase. Now, what that means is they're going to be putting people off. We've already seen some mines close down because they don't need as many people just to maintain and run the mine as to when they're out there building new ones. So they are going to be putting people off. Smaller mining operations will fall by the wayside and the big players will sort of remain. So that's happening. So that's a little bit depressing on the mining side, but let's have a look at some of the other five major sectors for Queensland. Energy, tourism, education, construction and agribusiness. So there are our other five main sectors. So we really need to be focusing on those now with the falling away of the mining boom. So the Australian dollar has been falling over recent times. It's currently sitting around 93%. So analysts are forecasting that dollar to fall down to at least 80%. Some are forecasting it to drop even lower than that. So how will that affect these five sectors? Well, it'll positively affect some of them, especially for tourism. That's Queensland's second largest sector. Obviously, if our dollar is lower, it's cheaper for foreigners to come here, so that will definitely increase our tourism. And also it helps in our education sector. We do actually have a huge education sector in Queensland, and when our dollar is low, that encourages foreign students to come and study here in Australia, and we have a lot of those, so that will help also. So that's just a really quick summary of what's happening in Queensland at the moment. I'm a proud Queenslander. I'm in the minority born and bred here. I'm really happy that the government is taking steps to tackle this debt. It does need to be reduced. You know, if you think about $4 million on interest every year and what $4 billion a year can do with new roads and hospitals and education, all those sorts of things. So hopefully it will reduce. Queensland hasn't had an operating surplus for 10 years now. This budget is suggesting that for the first time now we will move to an operating surplus. So let's wait and see, and hopefully that will pan out. That's all I'm covering today, but if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me.